Hello, this is Henrik Beshman. I'm a software developer based in Toronto, and this screencast is about something I haven't found very much about on the web. I call it Intrinsic Design, software design from the inside out. Um, the idea here is not to use this to replace other design methods, but rather to use this concepts uh, here to complement other design methods. Um, so I define intrinsic design as the exercise of bringing logical closure to existing designs. Um, Given that you've done your database design, your UI design, possibly something more sophisticated like domain-driven design, and so forth. I view intrinsic design as a way of going through those methodically to make sure that sort of the corners of the design have been covered off as you're getting ready or moving forward, getting into the next phase of your implementation. The reason is that my experience, and I've been at this since 1981, is that logical possibilities that may have been overlooked when you're going through use cases and user stories, things like that, logical possibilities tend to manifest if they're available logically. They tend to come up in real life. The more so, the larger your audience is, and the more time that goes by with the use of the software that you're developing. So you're analyzing intrinsic design logic. You're looking for deficiencies and extensions, and you're resolving those. So another way to look at this is as a way to stress test or integrity test the designs that you've been working on. So again, the goal is to bring closure to existing features so that clear requirements that might have been missed are anticipated, thereby avoiding subsequent disruption. Um, Anticipate application feature expansion. Um, you can often look at the design and anticipated features and visualize extensions that people may want soon in the reporting area, for example. Undo features, thinking about completion of workflows, sort of natural invitation for information or extensions to the functionality based on discussions with user groups or just really visualizing those yourself. You do want to be using intrinsic design, not so much to diverge from other designs, but rather to harmonize those other designs. In other words, you can use intrinsic design as another input for the other designs that you're working with. Basic design characteristics that I found provide guidance to test or a sense of whether designs are complete. Symmetry, balance, completeness, conciseness, coherence, elegance. Where any of these are deficient, if something is tilting towards the front end, not enough at the back end, towards input, not enough to the administration. If some aspect of the design is weightier in comparison to others, make sure that everything's complete. Make sure that things are boiled down and make sense to people involved with the development, and obviously your user group and so forth. So just some guidelines there. Signs of deficiencies. Administrators are modifying data records directly. That's fairly common. Obviously, if they're doing that, then there's a deficiency in the user interface design. If administrators intervene on behalf of users, that's a sign that something is missing. And particularly if developers intervene to resolve operational issues, that's a clear sign that something is missing from the design. And obviously, lingering periods of bug reports It's not uncommon to have bugs when a product is first released, but in my experience, in a well-designed product, those bug reports should drop off quite quickly, and then subsequent bug reports should come in very slowly, if at all, after an initial period. So here are various paths that can be taken. Look at state variations, state of objects that are being manipulated. Could be an invoice, could be an order. See if some of those states might want to be reversed. See if there might be some intermediate states or final states, closing states, recovery states, that sort of thing. Look for creation, read, update, delete variations, CRUD variations that may not have been covered. Look for an undo feature. Look at the inherent relations in the data model or the database design to see if there's some relations there that may not have been surfaced to the user interface or may not have been covered in enough depth. Have a look at the business rules and see if there are any natural extensions or completions of those. Obviously, language variations. Have a look at use cases. Try to identify some edge cases, perhaps, to test the model to see whether some of those can be naturally handled. And re-examine the scope of the design to make sure it covers what it needs to. From a system standpoint, some of these tend to be overlooked, particularly under strain of timetables and budgets. But having a careful look at those and dealing with them methodically is a good investment. Does tend to save time, obviously, in the long run. So have a look at error handling, repair and recovery. Repair and recovery meaning that if some corruption makes its way into the database or some unexpected values show up, the system ideally should have a recovery, an internal recovery mechanism so that it can recognize those, possibly flag things, possibly notify administrators if something goes wrong, and certainly it's always a good idea to have a repair facility, particularly when there are separate systems or separate databases that have to communicate and synchronize to bring things back into a state of integrity if something goes wrong. Have a look at system administration, data loading and backup, self-healing and isolation I talked about briefly. In terms of the deployment flow, make sure that there's a fairly convenient way of transferring features from staging site to existing site, or from existing site back to a staging site for further testing and so forth. The security panic button is always handy. Maintenance mode, obviously, disaster recovery, those things are well known. Another way of addressing this is have a review of menus in relation to the responsibilities that the various user groups will have in respect of your application. So re-examine the user menu, advanced user menu, possibly a privileged user menu, and obviously the administrator and a system maintenance menu, which tend to be separate things. Having said all that, at the same time, one does want to favor simplicity over complexity, so there's no shortcuts here. Any new design ideas should be considered and sort of put through that process. Avoid over-engineering. Don't go off on your own. Be sure that new design ideas that come from this process are well integrated into existing designs. Obviously, always respect user-based design, and budget is always there lurking. So just some quick ideas. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to contact me at the address that you see there. Have a good day.